Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to get mauled.
Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Oktoberfest here on Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give it a thumbs up and give some love to that subscribe button as well. Otherwise, when the apocalypse hits, I'm going to get stuck in like a hallmark somewhere and I won't have any hope of survival because I won't have subscribers. Today on Oktoberfest, we're continuing with the category of my all-time favorite horror films, and today we're talking about Dawn of the Dead. No, not that one. Sit down, Zack Snyder. Sit down. This is how a big boy makes zombie movies. Look, I've probably gone on a record saying this before, and if not, I'm about to go on record saying it now. I can't stand zombies. I apologize to anybody out there who's a zombie lover or who makes zombie stuff. I got nothing against you or your work, but zombies are the most boring shit in fiction ever. I'm putting that on the table. That's the way I feel, guys. I'm sorry. They are the most boring shit in fiction. Period. I am so done with them. I think I was done with them when I was born. They are literally a dead horse that has been beaten way too much and nothing new has come out of the genre to make me say, ooh, I like this now. Shaun of the Dead is funny because it's, a deconstruction and what have you, but everything else just feels like the exact same thing, just with different characters. So it's weird and kind of hypocritical that I should love Dawn of the Dead so much because it really is just another zombie movie. But here's the thing. Dawn of the Dead was the second zombie movie made by George Romero, and George Romero is the pioneer of modern zombie tales. He is the guy who brought zombies into the 20th century. He's the man. We have to revere what he did, even if we don't necessarily like it. But because he's the pioneer, we kind of have to look at his work in a different way than we look at any other zombie movie. Kind of like how you can hate sword and sorcery fantasy all you want, but you kind of have to give Tolkien's stuff its own separate kind of critique because he started it. So the OG Dawn of the Dead, George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, came out in 1978 and then followed with a US release in 1979, and it's the almost prototypical zombie tale that you have all heard by now. There's a small group of survivors who are trying to outrun the zombie apocalypse, whose origins we never learn. It's just a zombie apocalypse is happening, the end. And the survivors end up finding their way into a shopping mall that has been, of course, abandoned because society is dead now. There's a few zombies roaming the mall, but other than that, the survivors have the entire mall to themselves. So the whole film is them clearing out the mall of zombies, fortifying it, and basically using it as their new home. And I think what drives me the most to enjoy Dawn of the Dead is this plot, because I am a person who likes going to malls. Malls are fun, they're kind of neat, but I'm also really, really obsessed with the idea of having an entire mall to yourself. I talked about this earlier in Oktoberfest when I brought up Chopping Mall, but this is taken to a whole other level. Dawn of the Dead has 4 characters. This isn't like Walking Dead where you have like a rotating cast and there's like 75 people all huddled together somewhere. No, Dawn of the Dead, you have 4 characters. That's a small number, and considering that this is a zombie film, it's a safe bet that they're not all going to make it out in one piece. And after some time spent sort of looking at the remnants of civilization and figuring out what they're going to do, the 4 characters come to the shopping mall and spend the rest of the film trying to live there while dealing with the various problems that come with that, such as making sure they have ample food and supplies, dealing with the zombies who are already in the mall, keeping other zombies from coming into the mall, and then keeping themselves hidden from raiders and other violent humans who might see the mall and think, hey, let's go take that over. Because all of those things become a problem at some point in the film. You spend all of your time with these characters in this mall, and my favorite moments are the moments where you just see them exploring the mall, trying to figure out, hey, we can use this, we can use that. Hey, here's a place that sells food. Look, I found a box of crackers. And they start acting almost like kids again because you see that there's a happiness, there's a giddiness to the fact that they have a mall to themselves, and they're thinking, hey, you know what, we could make a pretty good life here. There's just this wonderful undercurrent of hope all throughout that I just find really addictive. coupled with the fact that they are living my dream, exploring an entire mall all to themselves without having to pay for anything. Plus, I also love seeing old stores and old logos and things that just don't generally exist anymore. And because this is a late 70s movie set in a mall, you see plenty of old stores. There exists, as far as my knowledge goes, 3 different versions of this film. There is the regular theatrical cut, there is the European cut, and then there is the extended cut from Cannes Film Festival. The regular cut is the cut that pretty much the majority of people have seen. It's your basic vanilla run-of-the-mill experience of Dawn of the Dead. The European cut, from what I've heard, focuses more on the characters and their relationships and less on the zombies. So the European cut takes out some zombie stuff and focuses more on the human aspect of things. The third and final cut, which is my favorite, is the extended cut from Cannes Film Festival, and this one just kind of piles in as much footage as there exists for this movie into one giant package. I think it runs about 2 hours and 36 minutes. It's a pretty chunky cut, but it is my favorite because A, I love long movies, and B, I really, really like this movie, so it just contains more of what I like. The first time I saw this movie, I have to admit, was through a BitTorrent kind of situation because I was really curious about it, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So my friend hooked me up with a link, showed me how it worked, and I watched this movie online and fell in love with it. And I was like, okay, I really like it. I want to buy this DVD. But there's the rub, because the DVD for Dawn of the Dead is 100% out of print. Yeah, there's a rights issue because greed, probably. So you can't find this DVD new anywhere. I searched and searched high and low. I went to cheap DVD places like Best Buy and Walmart. I went to more out-of-the-way DVD places like mom and pop stores or Sunrise Records. I looked at retailers who brought in their private collections at places like comic book conventions and things like that. Nobody had Dawn of the Dead. It was clearly a hard-to-find DVD. Eventually, I managed to find a copy used, but in excellent condition on Amazon for $53.99, and I finally picked it up and I finally own it. And I normally would never spend that much money on a movie, but considering this is a beautiful, huge DVD that comes with all 3 cuts of the movie, and considering how hard the film is to find now, I'll take it. I think it's probably worth that money. Of course, the movie was remade by Zack Snyder, and that is the version that everybody in the world seems to know about. When I Google Dawn of the Dead, the Zack Snyder version is the first one that comes up. When I go prowling around these stores looking for Dawn of the Dead, all I find is the Zack Snyder version. And I've watched this version. In fact, I watched it years before I saw the original 1978 version. But I have to say, this new Dawn of the Dead, I think flat out sucks. It just feels too modern horror. And what I mean by that is it feels like it's trying too hard to be edgy and badass, because I feel like modern filmmakers somehow think that horror needs to be edgy and badass. So when you watch the movie, it's a bunch of people who are like, yeah, we like smoking and beer and having sex out in the open and we don't care who watches, and now we're gonna play death metal and Disturbed and things like that. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I'm just like, what happened to the hope? What happened to the 4 characters who were just in this mall, learning to live in this new world and finding hope even when there barely is any? And even through the worst, saddest moments of their story, they try to find the hope and they're there to comfort one another. What happened to that? Instead, we just get like Ving Rhames and a bunch of other people who are like, yeah, horror, cigarettes and beer, yeah. Sorry, but no, the new Dawn of the Dead can go right in the toilet where it belongs. And it's all the more frustrating that the original one is out of print and so hard to find, because that just means that everywhere you look, it's only the new version, which just really brings my piss to a boil. That's like, imagine looking everywhere for a DVD of The Wizard of Oz and you can't find it, but everybody has that stupid Sam Raimi Oz movie that came out like 8 years ago. Everybody's got that and they're like, yeah, here you go. That's how this feels. But anyway, that is Dawn of the Dead, the real Dawn of the Dead, and I implore you, watch it. It is a piece of 70s masterwork, and they don't make zombie movies like this anymore. So that's been Oktoberfest for today. I'm Andrew Fantasia. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you here next time, and until then, adios.